This is a Ben Frank Connection presentation.
What is going on, everybody? We are here for an episode of Not Cool in High School, part of the ABJ Presents series, episode 114, Blink 182, One More Time review. Everyone, welcome to the podcast. Make sure you do the typical content creator thing. Make sure you check out the links below for all things ABJ, whether it be support, merchandise. If you're into Blink 182, there's a lot of cool Blink-inspired merch there that goes a long way to help support the podcast. Super close to our goals of 1K subscribers, as well as the goal of watch hours. So super close to that. This Not Cool in High School series and horror may be something where I'm going to be doing solo. This is my first, technically second time attempting to do this solo thing in 6 years of doing content. I've done the watch alongs, I've done stuff like that, but I've never done it on a podcast platform like this. If you are watching this live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or X, welcome. Make sure you hit like and subscribe over in there. If you're listening to the audio side, when you get done listening to this, make sure you give a 5-star review. Let us know what you thought of the episode, and maybe there's other albums or pieces of pop culture that you would like me to cover going forward. I'm open to opening my eyes to new forms of content, new forms of media and art. I'm always trying to learn and experience new things. So please give me some suggestions so we can go do that going forward. I am going to read off some Wikipedia stuff here to begin the episode. One More Time album is the 9th studio album of American rock band Blink 182, released on August 20th, 2023 through Columbia Records. This album marks the return of guitar/vocalist Tom DeLonge following his departure from the band in 2015. Tom DeLonge was prompted to return the band after bassist/vocalist Mark Hoppus received a cancer diagnosis in 2001. Following a meeting between DeLonge and his former bandmates, the trio overcame lingering disputes, which later led to DeLonge's return. This record, over a 7-month span, One More Time lyrically explores familiar territories like relationships and being and going through maturity, as well as lyrics inspired by the band's history of Mark Hoppus's battle with cancer. Barker also handled the production largely with his Woodlands compound band home in a state in California. The album's digital artwork consists of black and white portraits of the trio, physically edited, printed with the band's signature smiley logo drawn and framed by the graffiti artist Eric Hayes. So this was completely produced by Travis, which is super cool to think about. The length of the album is 44 minutes and 35 seconds. It is under Columbia label, produced by Travis Barker. It's says 9th recorded album, with singles coming from One More Time as a number 1, Edging, released October 14th, 2022, One More Time / More Than You Know, September 21st, 2023, Dance With Me, October 5th, 2023, Fell in Love, released October 13th, 2023, and then You Don't Know What You've Got, October 18th, 2023, with the actual album dropping, like we said earlier, on October 20th. So they put out a bunch of singles and got people really excited, and then dropped the full album. And boy, it was an experience for everything. Like we said earlier, Mark struggled with this album with his vocals, as well as his learning how to replay the bass, and it was really good, man. This album speaks to all those things. Some things that I got out of it personally, it was going through losing friends, having breakups and heartache, which is always the keystone of great music, I guess. And then just kind of going through that troubled youth phase and learning who you are as a person and maturing from it, but not fully, because Blink-182 is still Blink-182, and they're going to tell some dick, fart, and piss jokes, you know what I mean? Sorry for my language, but it is what it is. So yeah, like I said, these guys at one point in time as Blink fans, we thought we were never gonna get them back together. We thought this album was dead in the water. We thought what we knew of Blink-182 was dead and gone. But they found a way to reunite and go through this. So I am still trying to find myself as a content creator here doing this style of content. But the thing is, I'm going to learn as I go. So maybe an album review this time isn't going to be the same as it was previously, or anything like that. So it's going to be kind of a different avenue for everybody. These solo episodes, I'm not going to try to string out for 30, 45 minutes. We'll see how they go. But this first one's probably going to be a little shorter and sweet, only because it is my first crack at this, and it just trying to find it as I go. But I'm going to kind of go through every album, every track on the album, kind of tell you how I felt about it, what I got out of it. The Blink-182 real fast, just to kind of go back, but Blink-182 is a band that I would say is my favorite band. They've been around for some of the hardest times of my life, been around for some of the most difficult situations, and I grew up with this band, and they kind of taught me as a young person who felt like he struggled to fit in that it's okay to be weird. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be unapologetic and say what you want, because people are going to know your intentions are good if you crack it off color joke or say something offensive. But yeah, it's so Blink-182 was kind of that for me, where it's just like they kind of gave that attitude of like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me, and that's what made Blink-182 insanely special. And the band grew up in front of us. And I mean, I think they're one of the most versatile bands for me, at least, because they can put out a pop punk, they can touch into the realms of emo, they can touch into the realms of new metal. They have those really fast, crazy punk beats and insane complex drum patterns, but then they can break things down and do things like Stay Together for the Kids and Adam's Song. And I'm just giving you a little taste of Blink, because I'm sure there's gonna be more Blink albums to come, with future guests that they may join me on future Blink projects, and a lot of this might be regurgitated, but it is what it is. But this album for me also felt like it was speaking to its previous albums, and almost speaking more towards Enemy of the State. It felt like there's a lot of Enemy of the State like Easter eggs and things in this, whether it be the nanas or the ending. I literally forgot what song it was, but the ending of I think You Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. It sounds like the end of that song transitions into that long drawn out note, which leads to the beginning of What's My Age Again. That like it ends with that and looks like it picks up with that. And it's almost like a reminder track. And then there's some tracks on this album that I feel like they kind of all blend together and they all tell one story, which is kind of cool too. So let's get right into it. The first time you turn the song on, the first song you turn on this album is going to be the Anthem Part 3. And if you look at the track list, or you're kind of on Spotify or whatever it may be, because consuming albums is different. Like growing up listening to Blink, you put your album in, then you had your track, and you turn to the back and you read the albums. Like me, I would pull the music out, and I would actually read the lyrics as I'm listening to it, because that for me, that's how I not only got the feeling of like reading along, and I can comprehend the lyrics and I can interpret them the way they make me feel, as well as learn them, and then I can sing along when I listen to this album on absolute repeat. Enema of the State obviously is that album that you first turn on and it goes through the entire tracks and you're like, this is fucking awesome, this is so different, and at least for me. And then it ends with the anthem, and the anthem is exactly what it was. It was one of the songs that stood out to me the most, and I was like, man, that's like the banger song, like that speaks to you. And then Anthem 2 hits you with the beginning of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and you're in the same vibe. You're like, wow, I've grown up since that. You know what I mean? I'm not the same age as Blink, but I'm an adolescent growing up, and they speak to me. They speak to that youth in me, because they went through some of that. And then Anthem 2 hits, and then this album kicks off with Anthem Part 3, and it's kind of like a callback to those two, and speaking to those two of just like, all right, you did what you got to do. You went through what you went through. Now it's time to fucking get on your shit and get things done. And it was really, really cool. I will say that I kind of wait for the end for that, but the song starts and there's a drum solo and there's like a little drum fill that Travis hits, and it's just it's undescribable. But once you feel it and you hear it, you get that holy shit, Blink is back. And the last two albums with Matt from Alkaline Trio were really good, and I really liked Matt. And Matt had the same register of voice as Mark, so they sang very similar. And now with this album too, kind of getting ahead of myself, or I should have said before, Mark, Tom, and Tom all have this different register, and your Mark, Tom, and Travis all have this different register. And Travis sings on this album, and you hear him sing, and he has almost a like lower than Mark, and it's really cool. But anyway, the drum hits, and you feel it. Blink-182 is back. You feel that energy of Blink-182, and you're super excited. It's everything you want for the anthem part 3 to be. The lyrics of this are insanely powerful, at least for me on my end, because I went through a lot this past couple months. I'm not going to get into all of it right now because I want to talk about the album, but it just spoke to me like when you hear the first lyric is everything that we tried, we keep waking up to that light, we see risings of new tides and starting up a new life. When your head is hanging too low and your heart is about to explode, you can make it anywhere go. There's no fear when you get here and give up that ghost. And then it just goes into this chorus and the hook, and it's just like when you feel like you've fallen off that list, when you're clenching both of your fists, you aimed, then you just missed. Let the record show that you're fixed. Don't you give up now. Give up and resist. And it just has that like, listen, everything that you went through before, you're on a new high, a new ride, and that old shit ends, and you're not going to quit. And this song is insanely powerful, at least for me. And then just to hear the end of the song, like I won't fail, and it just sets up that tone of like this band is reborn, this band is at a different level, they that friendship is back, and this is the best way that they spoke to their previous selves, and is telling the previous selves as well as the fans that they're back. And like this is exactly what Blink needs to be. And that, like I said, that first song hits, and it hits so hard, and you're super excited about it. And then we get into our next song of the track, which is Dance With Me. Now, Dance With Me is a little different. This is your old school Blink. This is your What's My Age Again, all the small things. It starts off with Tom's voice, and it says, when I teach masturbation, I'm always like, just have fun with it. And then you're like, Tom's still a kid. Tom's having fun with this again. Tom's back with his boys. They're making inappropriate jokes. And then this entire song is kind of based on, is it like a Green Day song, like masturbation joke? And it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of a breakup song. It's a little bit of coming back together song. It's a little bit of everything, but it kind of hides behind this thing of let's dance. Just let's get it out of our systems. Let's get happy. Let's party. You got the ole, ole, ole's. We're doing it all night long. So are you having sex? Are you having fun? Who knows? They're one and the same. And the song is like, it just brings back that old school feel of Blink, and it's super powerful. And then we get on to our next track, Fell in Love. It's mature, but still has fun. It's generally growing up and reflecting on past relationships or a current relationship, however you want to interpret it. I know I pretty much interpret a lot of this as building off of a breakup or a divorce, because that was one of the things Tom struggled with this. He walked away from Blink-182 because he just had a lot going on with his life, and he wasn't happy in his life, but he also was finding new things about himself. And whether you believe in what he believes or not, he left to go chase aliens and chase extraterrestrial and learn the unknown. And he kind of accomplished it. Like everyone kind of, myself included, was like, Tom's fucking crazy. And we all knew about Tom's projects and stuff and all that, but it was like, the government starts declassifying documents, and they're giving credit to Tom's organization. And you're like, did we just find out that there's really extraterrestrial out there? And Tom's been right this whole time. And then it's kind of like he humbled himself to be like, yeah, I kind of was right on things. And knowing that information kind of fucked with my head. I lost everything. He lost his wife and stuff. And like, at least that's what they say in this interview that I will be talking about in a second here when I fill in between the next two songs. But yeah, and it's and you just kind of have that you fell in love thing, and it sounds like a song of reflection. I could be wrong, but the starts off with late night and I'm feeling kind of lonely, driving home, no one's waiting for me, I don't miss the days before I fell for you. So to me that seems like it's a reflection song. But then he reflects back on how they met and when they fell in love, and then there's a little bit of na na nas in there, which could be that old school Blink-182 callback right there. Yeah, it's a fun song. I really enjoyed it. It's a little bit of fun, it's a little bit of catchy, but it's also a little bit of meaning there, which is important. Then we'll get to the next track, Terrified. Now when I heard this one, I immediately paused it, and I was in the car, and I just said, like, this is this is Blink. Like, this is Blink, but this is Boxcar. This feels like Boxcar Racer. And it fired me up because I really liked Boxcar Racer. And that's another thing about Blink that I've always appreciated. Even though Tom and Mark, I didn't know personally that they were going through that, but it sounded like they had that little bit of a friendly rivalry, and they talk about it in an interview. But like how he thinks Tom wrote a good thing and he thinks Mark wrote a good thing. Can they stand on their own without being in Blink? And then he went to Plus 44 and Tom did Boxcar Racer, but Travis always kind of remained that glue between the two. And it was kind of like, this shows how talented they both are as songwriters and musicians, and it was really, really good. But there's an album, there's an interview with on their website, and they brought in a long-term friend of them, Zane Lowe, and there's an interview that's linked below that talks about a lot of the stuff that I'm going to kind of be referring to. Blink-182 is a band really that I didn't seek out. I hope I'm not repeating myself because I am a little fucked up in the head today. But I it's one of those things where I didn't really seek out them. I didn't learn their dirt. I didn't learn about them. I just kind of grew up with their music, and I let what came through the speakers reflect to me and make me feel. And it's insane listening to that album or that interview with Zane, where it felt to me like everything of who they were as people that I didn't seek out and didn't try to like learn every detail about them. They translated through their music so well. And like, I would see interviews growing up at like TRL, growing up watching all that. But it was one of those things where I didn't seek them out or try to get into their personal life or learn personal things, because it was punk. It's punk rock, man. Just let them live their life, let them do their thing. And I kind of treated it that way. But then listening to that interview all these years later and listening to their music this entire time and growing up with them, you kind of felt everything. Like, it was like confirmation for me. And when I first heard Terrified and I got that Boxcar Racer vibe, it was fun because when they said in that interview, like, this was an old Boxcar Racer song that they kind of reimagined and brought back. And it's everything you like about that style, and it's amazing, and it's Tom, and it has that serious tempo to it, and it kind of can mean a lot of different interpretations. But it just, to me, I kind of translate it as terrified. Like, you're terrified of change, you're terrified of where it's going to go next. You don't really know where you're going to fall, and change is coming, and it's scary. But One More Time is the next one on the track, and it's the first single. It's the one that told the world Blink was back. And it also expresses, all the hurt they went through, losing each other as friends, over things they didn't really know about because they didn't have those conversations. And then Travis getting in a plane crash or helicopter crash. I'm not sure which one it was, but almost losing his life, and him losing his friend's life in that car, in that crash. And then Mark being diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, which a lot of people don't come back from. This is another thing about this album too. If you're going through a breakup or a separation, or you lost your best friend, you feel that in these songs. You feel like that motivation to not just be sad about it, but to invoke change and reflect on how it makes you feel at that point in time. But also, like, you kind of get that vibe of the cancer and Tom struggling through his mental aspects of going through cancer, where he didn't know if he was going to be alive or not, and taking in the chemo and the radiation, as he'll talk about later on this album. But you feel that through everything that you're going to feel through this album. You start it with this song, and that was One More Time. And it just, all of this pours out in this first song, and it's a track. And they're very clear in their interview that when they did this, that it wasn't a gimmick. It wasn't a one more time. It wasn't Blink's going to be back one more time and then they're gone. Like, no, this is one more time. This is the only time that they're going to do, like, they're not going to fuck this up again. This is a coming together forever deal, not a one time and then we're gone. And this song hits hard with it, and it gives you all those emotions. And if you're a diehard Blink fan and you listen to this and you didn't get emotional hearing it, you're crazy. As well as if you watch the music video, like a lot of us did, you turn the music video on, and it's all those eras of Blink-182 pasted into there, where you have the I Miss Yous and the First Dates and all those songs that made you feel and make you love Blink. And those three people that you thought would never get back together are on stage, and they're performing, and they're paying homage to their past, but also realizing where they messed up along the way. And they're being forthcoming and honest with their audience with that. And you appreciate it. And it sets the tone for the album. It sets the tone for why we were excited for the album. And it's a great song on the track. Yeah. So in the chat live, Courtney says, "Is this album already out?" Yes, it's been out since October. I'm really late going through everything because everything that I was kind of going through, I didn't really consume a lot of media and review it, or I didn't do anything. So I'm kind of catching up on a lot. But this album I did listen to on day one. But I'll get into all that later because the topic is the album. So the next track here is "More Than You Know." And if you're, like I said, once again struggling with a lot of emotion like I were listening to this album, man, this one was crazy. More Than You Know, to me, I was like losing someone, but also losing that relationship and losing those things, but also losing your innocence and growing up, and everything's kind of growing apart in the relationship, and that's it's kind of what you feel there, you know. Um, it sucks, but it's part of it. And then that's all I really got with that song. And then we're gonna go to the next one. Um, oh, I'm sorry. I read my wrong thing. More Than You Know sparks so many different levels for me. I really, really apologize. It sparks so many different levels for me. Losing your friend, losing your life, breakups, uh, it covers a lot of ground. It covers the emotion of like mortality and all of that, and it pours through into a song that has like a catchy dance beat track to it because Travis is just so insanely complex with drums, and it's fun. He's really good, and he can turn a really serious song with a drum beat into something extra intense, or he can turn it into a party dance jam. But the next song, Turn This Off. It's 23 seconds of just Blink being classic Blink-182. It's full of vulgarity. It literally starts off, if it says, if you're too sensitive, well then turn this off. If you're offended by these words, then please fuck off. If you're an asshole, with a dick, or then something I can lick, then maybe we call ourselves proctologists. And then that's Mark's first verse, and then Tom goes into a verse that says, "When I took you on a sushi date, you took me home, sadly pumped away on your stomach, face, or ass. It's your fault I came fast, so don't blame me. Don't blame it on me. It's you. It's a you thing." And that's essentially the track. There's a 2-verse. It's done really, really fast. It's only 23 seconds long, and it's those old school Blink-182 Memorial days. It's those really, really funny, vulgar songs. So they're gonna say as much negative, like funny, perverse things on it, and it just kind of breaks up that mood of the album, and it's fun. It's fun. And then the next song, When We Were Young. This one is young love, but also growing apart. This is what I was saying, but also losing that innocence in your relationship, because when you fall in love young, and then as you grow older, those feelings do get older. And then, sometimes when you're someone like a Blink kid, maybe you don't mature as much as your partner does, and it causes issues. And that's kind of what I got out of this song, More Than You Know. It's hard. It's hard. I'm sorry, not More Than You Know. When We Were Young, and that's kind of what I get out of that. And it's kind of like you reflecting on the times where you were immature, but maybe they were the good times. Our next song on the track, Edging. It's comedy, but still very, very much speaks to you as a troubled youth, and being an anthem, and accepting who you are. Edging obviously is a terminology that you can go Google on Urban Dictionary or wherever it may be. But it's kind of that thing where it's like, if you think I'm down, I'm not. Like, you can get the rope, get the rope. I'm a punk rock kid from came with hell with a curse. She tried to pray away, so I fucked her in church. So it's like, it's that rebellious, it's that young youth, F the world type song. And it kind of lends to that old school thing. And it is kind of like an anthem and a banger of like, when you're down, you're not down, just keep fighting, and that's kind of what I got from Edging. But then also there's some fun sex references in there because that's Blink. Then we get to the next one, track 10, You Don't Know What You Got. And this is losing somebody, or almost losing it, losing somebody in a relationship or wherever it may be, and that no problem can be fixed. And it's kind of in the same lines of One More Time. You don't really know what you got till it's gone. It's one of those things that no matter how bad a friendship or a relationship or a family member fight may have went down, this song is kind of telling you, just like One More Time, don't wait till it's too late. Reach out, say your piece. Even if your piece isn't accepted, at least you put it out there, and I think that's really important to do, just for you as a person. Even if you've done someone wrong and you were absolutely the one who was the one who fucked up, or even if you weren't, clear your conscience and just, if they really mean something to you or they're important to you, then reach out and fix it. Because even if you have a hint of like, man, I miss that person, take that little hint of that as a sign and fix those problems before it's too late and you don't know what you got till it's gone. All right, next song on the track, Blink Wave. This one's really interesting with for this one because it's like a new age song, and I think they know that because they kind of named it Blink Wave instead of New Wave. But it seems like the band's really paying tribute to that style of music and maybe some bands that inspired them growing up. But it also it keeps staying in that Blink style. It keeps with the tone of the album and everything that is Blink and what Blink normally sings about, but it's done in a completely different style. And once again, it just shows the diversity and the skill of Blink-182 that they can do any style music or any tempo, and they can make the fart peak PP jokes, or they can do the serious tone, and it all works, and it just shows the talent of Blink-182. Now these Lex songs, talk 12, 13, 14, and 15, all blend together for me. And I'm going to be completely honest, when I tried doing this, the last take is where these are the songs that fucked me bad. Bad news. A breakup isn't easy, but you must find yourself and find happiness. And that goes for either side of the breakup, right? So if you're the one being broken up with or the one who's doing the breaking up, happiness is important and you must find it. And it's not always the person's fault, or maybe it is, but it's something that you have to kind of get a little selfish with at times and find your own happiness. And if you do go out and it's not what you're looking for, always, there's at least you look at that positive and that friendship, and it's something you can build towards going forward, whether it's a friendship, whatever it may be. But but the song also doesn't let you negate the amazing times, and you also do need to move on from them. And then Hurt comes, and it's an interlude, and it's the beginning to Turpentine, but also the lyrics of that kind of speak to how you feel hearing the bad news. Because when that song goes, it's not a full track. I think it's only like a minute and a half. But it's essentially like, have you hurt like this before, when your heart's already torn, when your tears are on my mind, when we fall there every time? Have you loved like this before, someone's heart is laid on the floor? Yeah, I know that love is blind. It's those damaging, it's damaging in those eyes. And it's only like really quick lyrics, but it's, like I said, it's an interlude that leads into the next song, Turpentine. Turpentine is, at least to me, a deep fucking song. Turpentine is essentially the breakup, and after the breakup is done and you're separated and you're in your space and they're in their space, and you're just struggling with self-reflection and struggling of who you are, and understand, maybe taking all of the blame, or just trying to understand what happened. And it talks about doing stuff in here of like, quitting your job and going to a bar and kind of maybe drinking or doing things to numb that pain. And no matter how horrible you feel or how low you are, the only way you feel like you can get clean is like by extreme measures. And that turpentine can be literally whatever your mind may take it to. But you just feel like you can never get clean. And turpentine is like a really, really obviously like paint thinning fucking cleaning agent. And if you're feeling you have to wash yourself with that, it just kind of reflects on how low of a place you're at. And then you're kind of in this song also putting yourself out there. And then as he goes into the last verse, he kind of puts that that humor back into it, where it's kind of like he talks about things, but he still kind of relates to it with his dark humor. Where he's like he says something about sticking your dick in Ovaltine and snorting a bag of Dramamine, douse yourself in gasoline, throw up in a limousine, jack off to a magazine, wash yourself with turpin, and then he says tine, god damn it. So he ends it on like a funny note, but you can still tell he's hurting. So he's trying to like it is that coping is in the song as well, at least to me. And like I said, I can be way off basis, and Blink-182 could have a completely different meaning. But that's the beautiful thing about art. It's up to your interpretation and how you feel. And then Fuck Off is the 27-second song that it seems like it's going to be the funny one, where it's just like, hey, funny jokes, maybe inappropriate stuff to kind of lighten the mood. And this one kind of feels like Turpentine, where it's like, at least with me, where I struggle with putting my emotions, my feelings out there. And the lyrics is like, shut up, you talk too much. You talk too much, you talk too much. Shut up, you talk too much. You talk too much, you talk too much. And then it ends with one more of that. And then it says, you talk too fucking much. And it's because when you do put yourself out there, and say to some people you need help, or you're hurting, or you're lonely, or anything. Everyone else is kind of going through their own things, and not everyone's going to be there for you. And sometimes in really hard situations in your life, you're going to have to fight those demons and battles alone. And sometimes it's hard, and some people can't do that, and sometimes it's probably exactly what you need. I'm not spiritual. I don't believe in a higher power, but I believe in the universe, and I believe I guess this quote is a Bible one as well. But it's kind of like you won't be given too much that you can't handle. At least that's what they try to tell you, so you don't do anything horrible to yourself. But it's kind of like that. But this is like, you talk too much. You talk too much. It's kind of you saying like, yo, be quiet. People don't give a shit about your problems, and kind of move on. And that's a shitty place to feel, and that's a shitty place to be. And that's how that one spoke to me, because that's kind of where I was for a good 9-10 months. The next song, Other Side. This one was hard for me to kind of disservice how it made me feel, or where I like how I relate to it. I'm going to be honest. But it feels like it's not holding on to ill feelings, but going on with the person that you may have ended with. So it kind of says here is like, we'll never be at the same stage, but we'll always have that coffee life. We'll see each other again on the other side. So maybe in a spiritual way, maybe we'll catch up on the other side when this life is done, and still be friends, or still care for one another, but maybe not on the same level. It just kind of seems like you're letting go of ill feelings, and don't hold on to things you don't need to. That's kind of what I got out of Other Side. Then I got the last song, Cut Me Off. Not the last song. Sorry. I have two other tracks that aren't on here because I think that a deluxe edition or whatever, but the next one was called Cut Me Off. That one is kind of like breaking away, and self-reflection, breaking it to yourself with your own self-doubt, and removing yourself from everyone, showing others that self-destructive side, where it's kind of like you get to a point where it's you're hurting, and instead of asking for help, you kind of treat other people like shit, so they leave you alone. And it's kind of like that, Cut Me Off. And there's some lyrics in there that attend to that, and it's tough. It's really tough. Next one on my track list that I don't think is on the actual album, or maybe it will be, because the album that I'm reading right here, kind of going through the lyrics, it is a little different. I should probably let's look at the actual track list on the Wikipedia. That would probably help out too. Fuckface, Other Side, Childhood. Yeah. So Cut Me Off and See You are digitally exclusive tracks, but when they put them in the album, they ended the album still with Childhood, and they put these two songs there. And then that last one here is See You. And it's, for me, it said, if I feel like I was struggling with the person you cared about, and maybe learning what went wrong after the fact, and it still might be too late to fix it, but at least you have that closure. And that's kind of what I got from See You. And then Childhood, the very last thing, is realizing childhood trauma, and a huge reason why you are who you are, but also reflecting on the good times of your childhood, and never thinking that you're going to be where you are in your current spot right now. So when you look back at your younger self, you don't imagine yourself at the age you are currently. And at least for me, I didn't think, I never planned of like what I was going to do, because I was that punk rock degenerate kid. And it's just kind of like this album is looking back on their great times as a band, and great time at their friendships. And almost like I said before, it feels like this album is talking to Enema of the State. And this album is kind of telling that album, like, man, you did it, man, through everything you guys went through, all of the albums, all of the heartbreak, all of our separations, and almost dying and coming back. They still have that childhood. The title of the track, they still have that childhood in them, and that's what kept them alive, and was able to fix their friendship later on in the future, because they remembered those good times, and they were able to fix it, and they're kind of proud of themselves looking back of where they were and where they are now. Yeah, the album is super, super good, and like I said, it was very, very hard to review this one and talk about it. This is my second take doing it. The first time I did it, man, I broke down. I actually deleted all the footage. I got rid of it. I ended the stream early. I couldn't physically finish it, because it was hard. It talked about a lot of stuff that I don't even think I even fully coped with. And listening to the album again, and getting prepared for today's episode, brought a lot of feelings back. Plus, I'm going through some stuff personally with other things that still hurt and that are sucky right now. But we'll get through it. Hopefully, Ziggy the cat finds his way home, because it sucks. But yeah. That's all I got, man. It was a really good review, really good album. Well, not a really good review. That's up to you guys. But it was a really good album. And even if you're not a Blink fan and you just know their hits or you knew what they've gone through, I definitely recommend listening to this album. I think if you went through a hard breakup or maybe you lost someone to cancer or anything like that, I feel like it speaks to all of those things. It speaks to growing up troubled youth, growing up poor and just kind of having fun and being goofy and inappropriate and saying things that would get you in trouble, but that's kind of what made you fucking drown out all the horrible shit that you're going through in your shitty little town. And just being with your friends. Like Blink's about that. It's about being that kid and having those breakups and emo music and punk is just kind of like heartbreak and heartache anyway, but also like not just from a girl standpoint, but our boyfriend standpoint, it's also losing your best friends, and that could be even harder than a breakup sometimes. You know, you have that really good friend that you're like, man, that was my homie, that was my ride or die. Girls say that was my bitch. I don't know how you refer to it, but it's one of those things where it's like if something you're holding on to that's petty, if there's something that's out of your control and you're holding a grudge over somebody that maybe they realize they fucked up and maybe they need that second chance or they need that friend. I hope this album sparks that it's empathy. And I guess the big thing there is just having that empathy, reaching out to those people, making those connections again, because if they mean a shred of anything to you, if you can't look back and be like, man, the past was good. I wonder where we went wrong. I wonder if they're willing to have that conversation. At least you're willing to have that conversation to fix it. And then if you don't, it's see you. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I have no ill feelings. I got my feelings out. Even though we're never going to be the same again, I see you. I want you to have the best, and I hope you grow and prosper from that. And that's what this album kind of speaks to a lot of, and just recovery and just staying strong and still kind of keeping things lighthearted and laughing through humor with maybe some dark humor. But that's going to do it for the album review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I try to stretch it out a little bit to a half hour, 45 minutes, because I feel like that's the norm for a podcast. I think when people look at a podcast and they don't see that hour mark, I think a lot of like hardcore podcast listeners skip over that episode because they feel like there's not going to be enough substance there. Once again, this album review was completely based on my own feelings and what I was going through at that point in time. But Blink-182 will never listen to this, but I hope that if like any musician out there, anyone who creates art, it always makes you happy when someone can give you that feedback of how your art made them feel. And that's kind of how I wanted to do this review. And maybe doing my reviews going forward, because that's what makes pop culture relevant, right? That it's how it makes you feel. And a song can literally type out to you, this is what it's supposed to mean, but it can mean something completely different to you. It could remind you of a loved one. It could remind you of a good memory. It could remind you of a bad memory. Music and art is so powerful, and I love learning about new styles of it and new forms of it. And that's kind of what I want this podcast to be. I'm going to have people join me as guests and bring in some things that they're passionate about, and maybe things that I've never watched or never got into. I think another thing that a lot of people do in this industry is they feel like they have to know it all. And I think sometimes people are afraid to put their guard down to be like, I'm experiencing something new here that maybe I don't know about. Like, I'm a diehard Blink fan. I love Blink, but I can't tell you their wife's names, their kids' names. I don't look at that stuff. I don't really, with certain people, I don't get into their personal life or their history. And I learned more about Blink as people through just basic media, but more of this recent interview that I really recommend to anyone to go watch. Even if you're not a Blink fan, I think it's really worth the time to like hear how these people were so angry against each other and how they were able to put it together. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, or if you know anyone that would be a great guest, or if you yourself would like to come on and chat and talk about a topic, I will give you a heads up now. I do have one episode that I still don't have a guest for. I'm still kind of waiting on somebody, but we have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episode coming up. I might do that one by myself. If I can't get guests, I'm just going to do them. But I have a lot of movies that I wanted to watch and ask people if they're passionate about it that would like to join me. So I do have a lot more coming up. We're going to try to stagger it every month to do at least 1 to 2 of Not Cool in High School, which will be regular movie, music, pop culture, comic books, video games, and then 2 horror ones. 2 are 1 horror one. This month we have 4 weeks, so we're able to do 2 of each. So it's going to be Blink-182 first, then it will be I didn't know much about Blink-182 until now. I kind of only remember them from the collaboration with Jay-Z. That was Linkin Park. That wasn't Blink-182. So Linkin Park is my other favorite band. So when I finally, as someone, I'm just going to rewind here. When I found out, reading a chat from the thing for the people who are listening to live or listening to it back later in audio, Linkin Park is another band I really, really loved. And they spoke to me because Chester struggled a lot mentally, like I struggled for a very long time, where you didn't feel like you fit in and you feel like you were an outcast. But no, I'm glad you brought it up, because I was supposed to see Blink-182 and Linkin Park together. They only ever played one show together, and it was supposed to be two. It's supposed to be one in New York and one in Hershey. And I had tickets to go, and I was super, super excited, and I was pumped. And the week of the show, so like the show was a Friday or a Saturday, in the week of, unfortunately, Chester took his life, and I was never able to see that collaboration. But I'm not, that doesn't upset me that you think Blink-182 is Linkin Park, because I love both those bands so dearly. And maybe I do some Linkin Park reviews stuff coming up as well. But like I said, any suggestions, put them out there. I really hope you all enjoyed it. We do have the Not Cool in High School merch available. If you're into that is actually a photo of me as a little kid. They weren't sunglasses, they were big nerdy glasses, and I did miss half my teeth most of my life. My greasy little hair, you know what I mean? That's me as a kid. Like that was the one that was not cool in high school, that if you talked about the things that we're talking about in this podcast and not about sports, you were a nerd and you got picked on for it. Now you're a hero in school if you know stuff about comic books. But yeah, so merchandise is there, all social media is there. We're very, very close to our watch hours. If you were on the first stream and watched me have that little bit of a breakdown, I apologize. I felt like it wasn't good. It wasn't good content. Maybe it was good for emotion level, I don't know. But I needed a second chance at it. Once again, my old shit ends here tonight, and I won't fail. So I had to gather myself. I walked away from the camera. I did get emotional. I did have probably more of a cry than I've had in the last 9 months, to kind of cope with what I was going through, as well as losing a fucking cat, which fucking bothers me so much. But I hope you anyway, that's a whole other topic. But yeah, so I stepped away. I gathered myself. I was able to take Lily back to the house and just kind of put myself together as best I can and do this episode properly and get it out and get my first other podcast done and just shake off those nerves, you know? If you are into Blink or you really like this episode and it resonated with you, we do have the Blink-182 ABJ face merchandise, as well as a few other Blink-182 inspired logos. I'm going to start trying to make merch based on the stuff we make. So like if we do a review of Terrifier, we might do like a special ABJ horror version logo of that. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. This has been Not Cool in High School. Here's some music by the Converse kid, Billy Trey. We're out of here. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for watching this presentation. Like, share, and subscribe for more.